Hey, welcome. So today, we're going to dig into the story of unions. You know, how they started, how they've changed over the years, and why, in this crazy digital world we live in, their biggest fight might not be on a picket line anymore, but on a homepage.
When you think about the whole labor movement, all the laws, the strikes, the big, complicated contracts, it's easy to forget that it all starts with something incredibly simple: a single sentence. That's it. That's the spark. It isn't some grand political theory or a catchy slogan. It's just a gut feeling, a human reaction that something's wrong. Maybe the pay is too low, the hours are just too long, or the conditions feel unsafe. It's that quiet thought that starts in a break room or out on a loading dock.
And then comes this question. This is what changes everything. It's the moment one person, feeling kind of powerless on their own, realizes that if they join their voice with others, they create something new, a shared voice that is way, way harder to ignore. Okay, so let's really dive into that simple, revolutionary idea. How does that one little question, what if we speak together, blossom into a movement that has literally shaped the lives of millions and millions of working people?
So here's the official definition from the US Department of Labor. But forget the jargon for a sec and look at those key words: democratic organization and joining together. This tells you it's not just a protest group. No, it's a structured institution run by its members, designed to turn that individual feeling of this isn't fair into collective strategic action.
So, how do we get from that simple thought to the unions we know today? Well, the story really unfolds across four pretty distinct generations, and each one was defined by a totally different kind of struggle. And this timeline just lays it out perfectly. The first generation, they were fighting for pure survival. Then, the second generation fought for legal recognition, which they finally won with laws like the National Labor Relations Act, the NLRA. The third generation, well, they turned inward, focusing on making sure the unions themselves were democratic, with laws like the LMRDA. And the fourth, well, that's us. That's right now. And the fight is for visibility and trust in this new digital world. And make no mistake, this isn't just ancient history. Public approval for unions is still incredibly strong. I mean, look at that, 68%. The core idea is as popular as ever. But it brings up a really interesting question. If people like unions, can they actually find them? Yeah, this is not a small niche topic. We are talking about almost 15 million workers here. These are our neighbors, our family members. They're the teachers, nurses, electricians, and public employees who are all part of these democratic organizations. Which brings us right here to the fourth generation, our generation. And the challenge we face is one that the founders of the labor movement could never, ever have imagined. It's a battle for eyeballs, a battle for visibility. And what's so fascinating is this contrast right here. The old tools, the meeting hall, the bulletin board, the phone tree, they're still important for sure. But think about it. When you need an answer at like 10:47 at night, where do you go? You grab your phone. You type it into a search engine. The union's reality now has to exist on a screen. So here's the bottom line. For a new hire or a family member trying to figure out benefits or even a reporter on a deadline, if they can't find your union online, it's like you don't exist. In today's world, having a strong digital presence isn't just nice to have, it's a signal of trust and legitimacy. So, how do unions tackle this head on? They do it by reimagining their website. It's not just an online brochure anymore. It needs to be the digital union hall, the central hub for everything the organization does. A great website has to wear a bunch of different hats, right? It's the welcoming front porch for people who might want to join. It's the bulletin board for all the meeting notices. It's the archive where you can find old contracts. It's the reception desk answering questions. And it's the public square where the union gets to tell its own story. And getting this right isn't some kind of dark art. It really comes down to a few clear best practices. The site has to be built for the members, first and foremost. It needs a structure that's so clear anyone can find what they need. And, it has to be kept alive. Because, let's be honest, a dead website with old information sends the worst possible message, that nobody is steering the ship. Okay, so we get it. A good website is important. But so what? How does it actually make a difference in the life of a real, live union member? Let's break down the real-world impact. Financially, it's pretty simple. When a member can easily find the dates for an apprenticeship or a scholarship form or just basic benefits info, they don't miss deadlines, they avoid costly mistakes. It helps them actually get the full value of everything their union fought for at the bargaining table. Mentally, it's a huge stress reducer. A clear, trustworthy website cuts right through all the workplace rumors and anxiety.
Instead of relying on something they overheard, a member can go straight to the source and get the real facts. It completely changes the game from, well, I heard, to the confidence of, I checked. And psychologically, it all comes down to respect. When an organization takes the time to make information clear and easy to find, it sends a really powerful message. It says, we value your time. We value your intelligence. We respect you.
And then there's the philosophical part. A great website is basically democracy in action. When you make the bylaws, the list of officers, the meeting minutes, all of it visible and accessible, you're empowering members to actually take part in their own democratic organization.
Which brings us right back to where we started. This was the lesson learned in the mills and mines over 100 years ago, and it's a lesson that is more urgent than ever in our digital age, where you can be surrounded by information but still feel totally isolated and alone.
So, we'll end with a question for you to think about. Look, a great website is never going to replace a great union steward or a contract vote or a picket line, but it can make a union easier to trust, easier to join, and easier to understand. The real question for this fourth generation isn't if a union should be online. It's whether its digital front door is actually as strong and as useful as the members it represents.